For me, climate change wasn't always a big topic. I learned almost nothing about it in high school and learned that environmental activists were a certain type of people. However, as I learned more about the effects of climate change on human life, I got really involved into climate action because I really care about how people will survive on this earth, to be honest. And when I learned about what the effects are on human life, on, for example, the economic effects and the hunger and the poverty and all those effects on human life, I just couldn't do nothing. So I started looking for a way to contribute more than just recycling. And there was a training program for the climate ambassadorship from the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate. And they told me about this traineeship for people who aren't really involved in climate yet, but they did want to. So I decided to apply. And in this traineeship, what I think is really important and really awesome is that I learned that you should contribute on your own way. So at first I was really searching for a way to contribute that was really technical and really into the technical aspects of climate change. But Marcel Beukenboom, the former climate envoy, told me, no, look at your own skills, look at your own passions, and from that perspective, contribute. So I decided that advocacy on an inclusive transition and advocacy for youngsters was my thing. So I decided to contribute to the European Climate Pact and the Dutch Youth Climate Movement. So the Dutch Youth Climate Movement represents the voice of 1 million youngsters in the Netherlands. And more than half of the world population is under the age of 30. And we are the generation that will live the longest on this earth, so it's only fair that our opinion is also being heard. It's therefore crucial that we also participate in decision-making processes, because today our voice is being heard and we raise our voice, but the decision processes are still being made without us, and that is a really big problem. So as the Dutch Youth Climate Movement, we have written a vision on how youngsters want to live in 2040 in the Netherlands. In this vision, we include how they want to work, how they want to travel, how they want to have their economic system involved. And we have developed specific expertise on these subjects so we can also talk about it in these decision-making processes. And the Dutch Youth Climate Movement itself offers meaningful youth participation in these decision-making processes on policies, strategies, but also we also raise our voice when there's something going wrong. And for me, my contribution to the Dutch Youth Climate Movement is really important because I really have a feeling I'm really making a change right now. But in a lot of other countries, that is still not the case. So that's why the We Are Tomorrow Global Partnership is so important. Because we're still not in line with the 1.5 degrees. And that is a really big problem. We have the COP27 next week where we also will be. And we see that we still are going towards a 2.8 degrees instead of the 1.5 degrees. And for youngsters, that is just not acceptable because it makes sure we have a really black future. And as a Dutch Youth Climate Movement, we made a lot of strides already. So for example, the generational test is one of our things we got into the government, but also the Climate Authority. But still, we are not in line with the 1.5 degrees. So we're not being taken seriously enough yet. And I think that is one of the problems, that youngsters are being heard, but they are not being heard enough. And there's being listened, but not being listened too good. So there's still like a certain misunderstanding or a certain, how can you say it, gap between what youngsters find important and what the grown-ups are doing right now. And I think that is something we really want to address. Furthermore, climate change is a cross-border issue, and we have to work together on it, and it only seems logical. But where it seems logical, we are still not doing it in the world, because countries are still doing their own thing on their own land, on their own little island, and they're sharing some knowledge and some ideas, but it's not really good yet. So we as youngsters decided to do it that way and work together with each other through the global partnership. So I hope the GAICA will contribute to that, and together we can make the governments go towards that 1.5 degrees. Thank you.